Nora Stolting.
Okay, hello everyone. It's so nice to see some familiar names on here, people that I know from PSU and other parts of my life. So welcome everyone. My name is Nora. I am a part of the technical assistance team for ODOT Safe Routes to School. And I'm going to be leading you through a couple of opening icebreakers. So the way that our plan for this session is we will do a couple of polls just to get us chatting virtually a little bit and sharing a little bit about ourselves. And then the bulk of our time together will be witnessing a few Pechakucha style presentations. So if you haven't seen Pechakuchas before or heard of them, they are just a different way of sharing information and sharing stories. They tend to be a little bit more focused around narrative and storytelling, and it actually translates to the sound of conversation in Japanese. And that's what you'll be getting a little bit of a deeper dive into. First, the ODOT Safe Routes to School technical assistance team and what we do, what we've been up to the past year, and some exciting creative projects that we've put out there in the past year. Then we'll have one from Douglas County talking about their storyboard project, one from Salem Kaiser about their pedestrian education opportunities in the past year. We will preview a new video which features many coordinators on this call, and then we'll do some breakout rooms by region, so you'll get a chance to do a little bit of chatting and visioning and brainstorming with other safe routes enthusiasts in your region. And then we'll close it up with some announcements. So without further ado, I've got some polls for you. And I just realized that my practice run answers are still in here. So that gives you a little example of what you might add yourself. So please join the poll. You can go to slido.com, SLIDO.com, and enter the code on the screen, 343896, or you can scan the QR code. And the first question here is, what are 3 words to describe your day today? And it's a word cloud, so if multiple people have the same word, those words will get bigger. As you can see, happy and excited, we're already on here from our practice round. I'm seeing energized, pumped coming through. Give you a few seconds to add your words. Calm. There's the code coming through. Busy. Early, frenzied, energized, inspired, love it, soar. Okay, we got everything across the board from frenzied to calm and everything in between. Foggy. Okay, 10 more seconds and we'll move on to another question. Okay, beautiful. Thanks for sharing. Our next question here is same code, same link, and this time using emojis. So there should be an option to pick from a plethora of emojis. Describe what excites you about Safe Routes to School. And I know it can take a little bit of time to find the right emojis, so I'll give you a little extra time for this. Whatever comes to mind. What excites you about Safe Routes to School? Oh, scooter, money eyes, a nice cartwheel, person on a power scooter, lots of bicycles, happy face. I'll just let these trickle in the next few seconds. Love it. Okay. If you have an additional one to add, do it now, and then we'll move on to one more question for you all. Nice footsteps. Lots of different weather symbols on here. All right. Final question. What do you imagine for the future of safe routes to school in Oregon? So your option here should be to type out an answer, and it doesn't have to be one word. It can be a sentence or whatever you think of the future of safe routes to school in Oregon. Sustainability, growth, a primary in every community throughout the state, expansion, connected and equitable network, long-term sustainable solutions, safe routes for everyone, every child learns pedestrian safety, another plug for sustainable growth, all students can get to school by walking, biking, or school bus safely and comfortably. Children and families can get to and from their school and neighborhoods safely and easily. Culture shift, accompanying financial shift, where the primary mode for school trips becomes active and shared. Equal access. No child hurt on our streets. Thriving and successful communities uniting to keep our kids safe. Anti-racism and climate action through policy and investments. Less reliance on cars. Trauma-informed. Okay, a couple more seconds on this one. Culturally relevant. Beautiful. Thank you all for participating in those polls. One more diverse workforce, opportunity for local action, lots of ideas for the future. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Thanks for participating in those polls. And we're gonna move on to seeing our Pechakuchas play out. So first up, we've got Emily Dugan from Commute Options to share more about the technical assistance team.
Awesome. I'm just going to share my screen real quick here and we'll start. All right. Thank you so much for coming, everyone. Again, my name is Emily Dugan. I work for Commute Options and use she, her pronouns. Today, I'm going to tell you about the Technical Assistance Program team. I like to think of the TAP team as the bike mechanics who are helping the program practitioners who are doing safe routes actually keep momentum and keep going. We're a team of nonprofits, a consultancy agency, and of course our government friends at ODOT. And we bring decades of technical experience to assisting practitioners with safe routes to school. Again, we have lots and lots of experience and years. For example, here's my boss, Brian Potwin. He started in 2008 with Safe Routes to School, so he's been around a while. And just a fun fact, he is actually that tall. It's not that the kids are very short. He's just an unusually tall man. In 2020, like many other people around the world, the TAP team really had to pivot. We couldn't do the in-person encouragement events that we wanted to do around the state. So we had to think about how we were gonna deliver things hybrid or remotely. But in 2021, we came back with new energy to get things on the ground. We started offering more events like the Ruby Bridges Walk to School Day, which we premiered in Oregon for the first time in 2021. Students around the state walked and rolled to school to have solidarity with Ruby Bridges and what she did for the civil rights movement. In 2021 as well, our friends Strider and Viv actually became award winners and won an award for this PSA that they created to encourage our youth to walk and bike safely to school. So it was a very big year for us in 2021. We also found that we needed a way for us all better to connect. And since we were already all on Zoom, we thought, why not have these monthly hub meetings where regionally we can meet and share ideas, talk about barriers and opportunities to programming in our areas. So we started the regional hubs. In addition to these regional hubs, we started hosting monthly webinars with folks like Sam Balto, who you see here. He's also going to be giving another presentation today on walking school buses, so be sure to check that out. And we have these monthly webinars each month on a variety of topics. In 2021, we also had the Safe Routes to School campaign Drive Like It. The entire state around schools, neighborhoods, you would see these pink signs everywhere. It was super cool. Just another reminder for drivers that students are everywhere and we need to be careful when we're driving. But it wasn't just this educational encouragement too that the TAP team was working on. Our project identification program worked with communities around the state who might not have the resources to identify construction projects and helped them create plans to create safer streets. We also had, I believe, 14 construction projects finished this past year, creating things like rapid flash beacons, crosswalks in our school communities so that students can get to school safer. In all of this work, though, we realized that there are just certain communities that we aren't doing enough outreach to and aren't participating in Safe Routes programs like we'd like them to. So we partnered with Multicultural Collaborative in Portland and started working with them on some plans to bring these community groups in. And this wasn't just something that we alone as the TAP team worked on. Our networks of the hubs and people around the state came together during our power analysis exercise and identified groups in their community too that they believe need to be better brought in. If you've been to our website since December 2021, you might have noticed that it's gotten a bit of an upgrade. We've created all these great resources and we want everyone to be able to actually access them and find them easily. So if you check out our website, you'll see that things are a little bit easier to get. As part of that too, we started our transition towards actually translating our resources into Spanish. We still have a long way to go, but we do have many of our resources currently available in Spanish, and that's on our website as well. So definitely check that out. This past year too, we've also been increasing the number of online tools that you can find to just very easily implement Safe Routes to School encouragement events. We have toolkits for these events like Earth Month this month, or Winter Walk to School Day, which was this past February. So we've done all of this in 2022 or 2021, and we're really looking forward to 2022. We were just awarded a bunch of money from the IIJA, so we're excited to talk with our community about the best ways to implement that and to use that money. This coming year, we're also going to be introducing a lot more toolkits. You're going to be seeing part of the new coordinators toolkit in just a minute here. And we're also getting ready to release a rural coordinators toolkit as well to help rural coordinators make the most of their Safe Routes programs. We're also very, very excited to have a Train the Trainer program official and statewide. So keep an eye out, look in your emails, and you'll be getting announcements soon about that Train the Trainer program so that we can train adults to teach children to be safe pedestrians and bikers. 2021 was a big year and we learned a lot from 2020, but we're very, very excited for 2022 and to be working with all of you and creating awesome Safe Routes programming throughout the state. So thank you all very much for coming and enjoy the rest of this session. All right, and now I will pass it back off to you, Nora.
Thanks, Emily. That was beautiful. Our next Pechakucha is recorded. Our next two are actually recorded. So I'll be sharing my screen. This is from Janelle Newton, who is here today. But we will watch the recorded version together. Okay. Can you all hear that? No, okay. I just realized that I might need to do something to share my sound. Sorry that I didn't figure this out beforehand. I've done this before and I can't remember where the button is. Does anyone remember how to share sound? Crowdsourcing to all of the 27 of you on here.
Nora, I think when you click share screen, sometimes there's a pop-up of settings and then there's like a, yeah, like what Samantha Willis said in the chat on the share screen button.
Share sound, yes. Thank you, Laurel. Okay, so that should be good. I'll go back.
Hello, my name is Janelle and I'm the Safe Routes to School facilitator in Douglas County, Oregon. Today, I'm going to share with you a recent project we created called the Ruby Bridges Story Walk. While you're probably familiar with Ruby Bridges, you might not know what a story walk is. I didn't either until the summer of 2020. I was on a bike ride with my kids, pictured here, when we discovered a story walk in our main city park. We'd never seen one before, and my kids, who are avid readers, stopped riding as soon as they saw it. They hopped off their bikes and started reading each board. They loved the experience and thought it was the coolest thing. As you can see, a story walk is an activity where you walk and read a story that has been taken apart and placed along a walking route. Pictured here are various story walks from St. Louis, Missouri, Boston, Massachusetts, and Seattle, Washington. You can find story walks all over the United States. Our inspiration to do a story walk on Ruby Bridges was twofold. One, it encourages kids to walk outside and be active. Two, it provides context for the Ruby Bridges Walk to School Day event in November. Ruby Bridges Walk to School Day teaches kids about the civil rights movement and helps make connections to today's collective efforts for change. It also gives children a chance to celebrate Ruby's courage by walking to school. In November 2021, many schools in Oregon celebrated this event for the first time. However, in Douglas County, most kids are not familiar with this event or even know who Ruby Bridges is. The goal of the Ruby Bridges Story Walk is to help kids learn about Ruby's story and give context as to why she's celebrated each November with this event. Teaching kids Ruby's story is important for so many reasons. First, it's a part of our country's history of the struggle for racial and social equality. Second, it shows that any act of courage, even those made by young children, can make a huge difference in the larger world we live in. Once we decided to do a story walk on Ruby Bridges, the next question was, which book do we choose? There are so many books about Ruby, it was hard to narrow down. The book we ended up choosing has captivating illustrations and was inspired by the Norman Rockwell painting, The Problem We All Live With. The painting depicts Ruby, who was 6 years old in 1960, as the first African-American to desegregate an all-white public school in New Orleans. It was so controversial that she needed U.S. Marshals to walk to school with her daily and keep her safe. The book we chose, Ruby Head High, is a great read for kids in grades 2nd through 5th grade. It has beautiful illustrations, descriptive text, and portrays the struggles faced by Ruby and her family in an intense but also triumphant manner. Once we selected the book, we needed permission to enlarge and reprint the pages. So we contacted the publisher, the creative company, and we received good news. They'd allow us to print the story for educational purposes at no additional cost. In return, all they asked is that we tag them in any social media posts using their Facebook and Instagram handles shown here. Once we got the okay to print, we reached out to our print shop at the Douglas ESD and the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion team to collaborate. We came up with this board as an intro to the story walk, so there was some context to the story. Our print shop printed the story on 12 corrugated plastic signs. This way, it will hold up through the rain and various elements. We attached H stakes to the sign, and after getting permission from Roseburg Parks and Rec, set up the story walk in one of our main city parks. Alternatively, if the story walk is set up at a school, it provides an opportunity for cross-curriculum connections. This could be a great way to connect to language arts or social studies state standards. The story begins by setting the scene. 6-year-old Ruby lives in Louisiana. She describes the geography, the culture, and introduces the word segregation. After reading this page, you could ask students to describe what Louisiana is like or explain what segregation is. She goes on to explain that even though segregation was legally banned, many white people did not want to integrate with Black people. Some critical thinking questions could be, why do you think some white people did not want to integrate with Black people? Or how do you think it made Black people feel when white people did not want to attend the same schools? Even though Ruby was only 6 years old, angry mobs were a threat to her safety. So police officers escorted her to school each day to protect her. However, not all white people were mean to her. Her new teacher, Mrs. Henry, welcomed her. She taught her how to read, write, and do math. She treated her with warmth and kindness, and they formed a very special bond. Slowly, some students at the school warmed to Ruby as well. Ruby's support started to grow as neighbors, community members, and people all over the country wrote her letters of support. Former First Lady Mrs. Eisenhower even reached out to Ruby as a sign of support. The letters and support encouraged Ruby and reminded her she was not alone. Slowly, walls were breaking down. Ruby's courageous walk to school at age 6 had a huge impact on the world around her, and this story can inspire kids to know that they too can be a part of positive change no matter what their age is. Our Safe Routes to School team here in Douglas County were super inspired by Ruby's story and are excited to share it with our community. We plan to use the story walk boards at various schools next fall, leading up to Ruby Bridges Walk to School Day in November. If you'd like to bring the story walk to your community as well, you can find the info on the Oregon Safe Routes to School website. On the homepage, click on resources and scroll down to walk and roll event resources. Click on Ruby Bridges Walk to School Day, and then under Share Ruby's Story, you can find the PDF file that contains the storyboards shown here. You can get this printed at a local print shop on the material of your choice. Once you have the story walk in hand, decide on where you'd like to set it up, at a school, at a park, etc. Then reach out to the necessary people to get approval before setting the story walk up. Once it's set up, make sure you tag at the creative company in any social media posts to give their credit due. We're excited to share Ruby's story this fall and hope her courageous acts can inspire the next generation. Thanks for listening to our Ruby Bridges Story Walk project, and feel free to reach out if you have any questions.
Yay, thank you, Janelle. So that's just one example of a coordinator that's passionate about something, taking something into their own hands that works well for their community and doing something creative. We have one more Pachacucha from a coordinator. This is from McCrae Carmichael. I'll share my screen in a moment. McCrae Carmichael in Salem. Okay.
Hi, everyone. My name is McCrae Carmichael, and I live in Salem, Oregon with my family. I have 3 children who have all been students within the Salem-Keizer School District over the past 16 years that we've lived here. I am the Safe Routes to Schools coordinator for Salem-Keizer School District. I work for the Mid-Willamette Valley Council of Governments, and my position is funded by an ODOT non-infrastructure Safe Routes to Schools program grant. Initially in January of 2020, when I was hired, we had focused on 5 elementary schools in Salem-Keizer that we were going to have Safe Routes to Schools program development happen. These schools were chosen because they had had initiatives, but quickly we had to shift with virtual learning. So we got creative and we hosted bike repair clinics at our schools, and started by fixing kids' bikes up, assessing some needs. We also hosted a spring art contest. We just completed our 2nd annual one, where we asked students to, in 21-22, what biking, walking meant to them. And we just engage with the walk and roll program and Strider featured here through the ODOT program. There's a lot of resources that are available through the Oregon Department of Transportation and the various networks already available. So in the fall of 21, I contacted ODOT and said, I really want to have a campaign with us being out of school in virtual learning. I thought we needed to be thinking about engaging with people walking again, and that students would be walking, riding their bikes, riding the bus, and that we weren't used to it. So we needed to be encouraging that again. Also in my program, I was able to get a school involved with a walking school bus program when we went back to school last year. And you'll see here a group of students, and there's an adult who walks with these students to and from school every day. But throughout it all, it came to me that the point of us all being pedestrians, like at some point, we're all moving in our community and making sure that we're enabling it. I was recently traveling and came across these excellent pedestrian bridges. And while I would love if our infrastructure completely supported the separation of pedestrians and vehicles, it doesn't work that way. So we can have good signage, we can even, it can be fun and silly, but it's important that our students first learn that they're in charge of themselves and what happens. So there's this great program, Neighborhood Navigators, that was developed maybe about 10 years ago by previous Safe Routes to Schools coordinators. And so I decided to tap into that with what was available for learning curriculum, a great lesson plan, teaching just what might seem very basic, but still empowering vocabulary and language for our students to use let them advocate that they're a pedestrian. These kids we see pictured are looking left, right, left. They're looking to make sure before they step out into the road that it's safe for them to cross and move across the street. So I partnered with the elementary school that my children have all gone to, and I contacted the PE teacher and said, what do you think? Because along the way, getting the right participation at the district level has been hard. And the PE teacher at my kid's school was super excited about this and thought that it was really important that we be talking to kids about pedestrian safety, how they are pedestrians, whether they walk to school every day or they're just walking from the vehicle that they're dropped off in to school, because it's not just school, right? It's our community at large. We want our kids getting out and being moving. So to share that the timing of pedestrian safety, I have several more classes we're going to be teaching in the next month, and we're doing our May Walk and Roll Challenge. So there's this great synergy to bringing our program and advocating for pedestrians. So this last clip, you'll see students smiling, walking. In this case, students can walk being pedestrians. And that's what I hope for many of our students in Salem-Keizer.
All right, thank you, McCrae, for that wonderful presentation. And next up, I have a little bit of a video clip to share with you. So as Emily mentioned earlier, we've been working on a few different toolkits that we'll be launching in the next several months. And one of them is a toolkit to support Safe Routes to School coordinators, and more specifically, new coordinators who are just starting out, and for there to be kind of one spot where everything they need for planning out their school year, getting support, knowing what their options are, figuring out how to do community engagement, all of that. So there's going to be a few different parts of the toolkit, including like the document itself, the toolkit itself. And I've also been working on compiling a video that's sort of like the video version of parts of the toolkit. So I had lots of coordinators step up and record themselves talking about their programs, and compiled it into a video with the help of Whitney Bennett. Actually, Whitney did, I shouldn't even say with the help of, I sent her the clips. Whitney did an amazing job putting these clips together. So we don't have the final version shared publicly yet, but this is, I'm going to give you just a little couple of minute preview of what's in store for this.
Sarah Mazey. I'm in Eugene, Oregon. I'm a Safe Routes to School coordinator and have been for about 5 years.
I've been in this position for about 6 months, since August of 2021.
I've been a Safe Routes to School coordinator for about 2 years now, since May 2020.
I got involved in Safe Routes to School in 2014 when my oldest daughter started kindergarten.
I've been in this position since January of 2020.
I have been in my coordinator role for about 6 years.
I've been in this position for a little over a year now, and I'll share a little bit about what my day-to-day tasks look like. Generally, I'm either working on infrastructure and planning on the city side of things, or doing education and encouragement at the school district, working with 17 schools.
It varies, but I spend my time just reaching out and connecting with district admins, school site leaders, the staff, and parents. I'm also the liaison for Safe Routes to School related issues with our community partners, such as the city, the county, and law enforcement. I plan and host walk and roll to school day events. And
ongoing communications with partners to plan education and encouragement events. I do a lot of the design work for creating graphics and messaging materials for all of the activities that we do in our area and across the state as well. I also oversee our volunteer program and our walking school bus program, and I pursue grant opportunities so that I can support ongoing sustainability of our Safe Routes to School program.
And in a typical day, I am doing a mix of things at my office and then out in the field. So in my office, I'm spending time planning activities, I'm connecting with partners, I'm working with different schools on the free bus pass program, or sending out helmets, receiving and communications and connecting with people about infrastructure issues. And then I'll go out in the field and either lead our kinder first grade Learn to Ride program, support a community ride for our middle school bike safety program, maybe go check out arrival or dismissal at a school that's having issues.
Things I do day to day are meeting with other program staff to talk about high school youth programming and any overlap that there is with our Safe Routes to School program to better connect all youth to all active transportation programs and services here at the city, as well as connecting with community-based organizations to see how we can better support the students and families that they serve.
Okay, so there's more where that came from, but that was just a sample of the beginning of it. And yeah, part of our time together today, we also wanted to just celebrate the amazing work that coordinators across the state are doing on the ground. So hopefully that gave you a little taste of what some folks are working on in different areas. So we're gonna actually split up, speaking of different parts of the state, I'm going to pass it off to Lindsay to transition us into our breakout room activity.
Thank you. So next we're gonna go into the breakout room. So there's going to be 3 different ones that will be split up by region. So join the group that's your region. Each of those groups are going to be facilitated by the regional hub lead. So you get to know them if you haven't met us all yet. We're going to have about 10 minutes or so to do some brainstorming activities and get to know what's going on in your regions. So I think we are ready to launch breakout rooms.
All right, folks, well, I have the pleasure of closing us out. Second to last, we'll pass it over to Lindsay really quickly. But thank you all so much for joining us and for participating in those great breakout sessions. It looks like there was some really interesting feedback, and we really appreciate all of your thoughts. I wanted to share some upcoming events with you all. Of course, we're just kicking off a track, first ever Safe Routes to School track for OATS. So hopefully you can join us this afternoon to talk about walking school buses, and there's a lot of other great sessions. I wanted to point out on Wednesday, at 10:30, there's a session about planning assistance. So we talked a lot about the education portion of Safe Routes to Schools and Oregon Safe Routes to School program. They'll share with you the planning assistance and then I know Leanne is going to talk about grants there's a grant for that session as well. So hopefully you can join us. Tomorrow afternoon, for those of you who are in person, we'd love you to join us on Ron Tom's patio. That's at 5 o'clock on Tuesday, tomorrow. And if you can make it and hunt down somebody with an Ulta piece of swag, we'll have drink tickets available for folks. And then a couple of other things. We are excited that our May webinar coming up on I believe the 17th, is going to be featuring Place It, James Rojas and John Camp, who sharing their creative storytelling approach to public engagement and working with Latino communities. And then in June, we'll be introducing Clint Culpepper with Cycle Oregon and kicking off the Train the Trainer bike and ped safety education. Also, we've got the May Challenge coming up quickly, and you'll see in a newsletter that's going out very soon that there's a great opportunity to potentially win scooters that we wanted to share with you all. And I think those are all of my announcements. So hopefully I'll get to see many of you in person tomorrow and others via Zoom on our other Safe Routes to School topics. And then Lindsay, you were going to close us out.
Awesome. So thank you to Hannah, Nora, Emily, McRae, and Janelle. Thank you to our sponsors,